introduction, I will present our last work accepted at ICML, Discriminative Adversarial Search for Abstractive Summarization, which is a collaboration with the Sorbonne University and MLIA and Recital. I will try to be brief. I hope to not do longer than 30 minutes, so we all have time to discuss and you can ask questions. I don't know, Elvis, if you want to, if there's some question on the fly during the presentation on the chat. If you want to interrupt me, that's fine for me. So in this work, we propose a new method for decoding for sequence generation. It could be applied to any sequence generation task, such as machine translation, handwriting generation, or summarization, which is the focus of the work. So what is abstractive summarization? You have an input, which could be a book, a paper, a research paper you want to summarize, a news article, and you want to summarize it, which means to produce a short text containing the relevant and informative information. I think it's one of the most difficult tasks in language generation, because the model needs not only to generate text, which is difficult, but also to learn what is the important information, to have a hierarchy and a prioritization of the ideas, and to only put what matters. So for this reason, I think it's quite an interesting task, and also it has a lot of application. Imagine, for instance, Elvis, I know you will like it, but if you had an automatic tool tomorrow that can summarize all the research papers that are produced now every day. So I will start the presentation presenting you the current state of that practice for summarization and text generation in general, from the models, the puppets, like BERT, the training and inference methods. Then I will present you the limitations of that. And finally, how DAS try to mitigate these limitations. So let's start first with the models, which I call them puppets models now, from BERT and GPT. You may be aware of the new revolution in NLP and even in general in AI, thanks to the transformers architecture. In short, I don't know if the audience is aware or not, so I will be brief, but try to summarize it. In brief, before you had to generate text, a recurrent model, and the transformers allows parallelism, which means that you can, in terms of computation, train the model quite faster. So you have an encoder and decoder, like the classic architectures, which we call a sequence to sequence. But now, instead of having a recurrent cells like LSTM or GRU, you now have feed-forward and attention-based, which is the main, I think, improvement for transformers. And this actually allows to train these models in a huge amount of data in a self-supervised manner, which give us, there's other models such as Elmo, etc. But the main, first one was BERT or GPT, which gives new state-of-the-art model 2 years ago about. But if you think about it, these two models that allows to achieve in a self-supervised manner new state-of-the-art with quite few data. On, like, for instance, you have the GLUE benchmark for global language understanding. BERT had a huge score, GPT-2 as well. But if you think about it, BERT was only an encoder, which means it can give good scores for classification, question answering, but was not able maybe to generate text. While GPT was actually a decoder only, which means it can, in an unconditional way, generate text. but it was not an encoder. And so how can you generate summarization where you need both an encoder and a decoder, a sequence-to-sequence model, because you need basically to encode the article, the input, and then to decode a summary, which will be your output. And last year at NeurIPS, Lidong had a paper accepted, which was called UniLM, Unified Language Model Pre-Training for Natural Language Understanding and Generation, which basically fills the gap between BERT and GPT. The idea is to have a unified model for both language understanding and language generation. And this model in particular achieved quite state-of-the-art scores at the time for question answering, but also for text generation, and more interestingly for us, text summarization. This is scores reported on CNN Daily Mail. So CNN Daily Mail is a summarization dataset where people scrapped CNN and Daily Mail newspaper websites. And you know, in a lot of newspaper, you have an article, and the summary that corresponds to the article is the highlight, the bullet point. In a lot of newspaper, you have the journalist that made in 3 bullet points kind of a summary. And this is what we try to generate automatically. As you can see, in terms of Rouge 1, Rouge 2, Rouge L, UniLM had quite an improvement compared to previous models of like here 2 bullet points, 2 Rouge point 1, which is quite significant. In all this paper, I base all the paper in this UniLM architecture as a base model. And then I will plug in the DAS component that I will detail later. Just a quick word before moving to training. So far, after UniLM, you had T5, BART, and other new models that give new state-of-the-art for summarization, but all of them are more or less based on the same principle from a pre-trained transformer. So now the question is, how do you train these architectures for text generation and summarization? You train, the main paradigm is via maximum likelihood via teacher forcing. Teacher forcing is a maximum likelihood estimation method where given an article, the X, which is the input, and the previous ground truth token of the summary you want to generate, Y1 to YT-1, you try to maximize the log likelihood of predicting the YT summary token, which is basically the token from the human summary. This is what you try to optimize. Let's take a clear example. So here the ground truth is 2 people running blah, blah, blah. At training time, you start with start of sentence. The model generates 2. Correct, that was the ground truth. So you feed the model 2, and you try to generate the next token, and now you generate birds. But wait, do you feed birds? No, because actually the ground truth token is not birds here, it's people. So what you do actually is that even if 2 birds might be correct, with teacher forcing you only feed to the model the ground truth token, which here then will be 2 people. And then you will generate 2 people running, which is correct. That's how teacher forcing works. All right. Now, how does this work at inference time? So first of all, I have to introduce the beam search algorithm and the vanilla version, which is the greedy search. Basically, the idea is that what you want to maximize is the probability of the sequence. So here you only consider the highest probability. Here you have like, let's say 3 branches, but in reality you have all the possible branch corresponding to all the possible vocabulary. For BERT, it's something like 30,000 different tokens. And what remains is the one with the highest probability. So here you consider only it's a greedy approach. So you consider only the one with the highest probability. And it's after so it put a probability of 0.5 to nice, 0.4 to dog, and 0.1 to car. So what remains is nice, which has the highest probability. Then you generate the next probability through a softmax. And so, okay, here it's not a softmax because the sum is not 1, but the ID is there. And what has the highest probability is woman with 0.4. So you continue so on till you generate end of sentence. That's the Guthrie approach. And the thing is, doing that, you don't necessarily generate the sequence that has the highest probability. Let's take an example. Now with the less greedy approach, where you keep only the two highest probability branches. So here you will take, for instance, nice and dog, all right? Because car has the lowest probability than dog. Then here you have the same probability and woman is okay. But actually after dog, you have the word has that has a probability of 0.9. And if you do the sum of the dot of the multiplication of the probability of dog and has, it's higher than nice and woman, see? And this is a branch that you would forget if you consider only in a greedy approach. In theory, if you do a beam search on all the vocabulary and you explore all the branches, the 30,000 branches at each steps, it's not possible. So a beam search is a good compromise with usually in literature, you will have K beams explored with K between 2 and let's say 10. And this allows to have at the end a sequence which has a highest probability, a higher probability. So this is beam search. Now let's get back to the example we had before, generating 2 birds or 2 people running. So at training time, you feed the ground truth, which is people instead of birds. Correct? That's what we discussed before. Now at inference time, obviously you don't have access to the ground truth. Otherwise, it's cheating. How do you do? So start of sentence, you generate 2, you feed to the model 2, you generate birds. How do you do? Well, I don't see the screen. Yeah. So you generate birds and you feed to the model birds actually. And then what the model will generate? Maybe flying, not running. All right, and that's how at inference time you can have a model that will behave like that. So this is basically what I presented is a main paradigm for training, inference, and the models for via teacher forcing. Now teacher forcing has a lot of limitations. So remember that here we force to the model at training time the ground truth, not birds, but people, while at inference time you don't have access to it. And this actually has a bias, which is in the literature we call exposure bias, thanks to a paper from Onzato, which basically is you have a mismatch between training time and inference time, because at inference time you don't have access to the ground truth. And so the model is exposed to its own mistakes. Here, maybe bird is not a mistake, but if the model makes a mistake, and a mistake is possible because we know that our models are not perfect so far, the model cannot recover from the mistake because it was not exposed to during training time. Courtesy of the pictures from Professor Forcing, a paper from Joshua Bengio, where you can see in handwriting generation the exposure bias. Basically, the model starts at inference time to generate something that seems correct. It makes a mistake at the middle of the generation, the picture, and you see that after that, it cannot recover from the mistake. And this is why generating long text, and the longer it is, the harder it is, because the model is more and more exposed to this bias. And this is due to teacher forcing that does not expose, again, the model to its own mistake during training. A second limitation for teacher forcing is that it generates texts that are known to be degenerate and prone to repetitions, which might be linked to the exposure bias, but maybe not only. And finally, one thing is that more than one sequence could be correct. Like before, the bird are flying is as correct as people are running. And still, you will penalize the model to generate birds flying because you only consider the ground truth as correct. Basically, what I'm saying is for summarization, you have more than one way to write a correct summary. But with teacher forcing, you can only consider the ground truth, which is only one version of many summaries possible. And finally, we are lacking of a sequence level loss with teacher forcing because we are only optimizing at a token level, token by token. While remember that, for instance, the beam search, what you want is to optimize a sequence, not the token. And we often try to optimize some metrics, such as bleu and rouge. I already mentioned rouge, which is the main one for summarization. And basically rouge, in brief, is n-gram overlap between the summary the machine generates and the summary from the human. And obviously, if you generate the exact same thing, you have 100%. But if you generate something different, even if it's correct, you will have a low rouge because you don't have any overlap of tokens. And what I was saying is you want to optimize a sequence level loss such as rouge or bleu. And teacher forcing is only optimizing again a token level. So alternative work have been done to mitigate these limitations. For instance, scheduled sampling from Sami Bengio. But the idea is cool, but it lacks of sequence coherence. Let's explain what it corresponds to. In teacher forcing, so the idea of Sami Bengio is to give to the model during training not only the ground truth tokens, but sometimes also the, and sorry, on the right there's a mistake. It's not ground truth, it's prediction. And so what you want to do is not only as teacher forcing feed the model ground truth tokens, but also generated tokens. So the model will be exposed to its own mistakes. Okay, but the limitation is that you can lack of coherence for the loss because birds is correct, but then on what will you optimize it as the next ground truth token? You will remain, you will hold to the ground truth tokens, which is here running. And I mean, birds could fly as a model would maybe generate, but you will not, here you will optimize that two birds are running and not flying. And you can imagine quite a worse example than this one. So this is a limitation for scheduled sampling. Also, some methods have been proposed to optimize the sequence level metrics through reinforcement learning, where the reward is a metric such as bleu or rouge. But here again, the issue is that these n-gram metrics, like bleu rouge, have a lot of limitations themselves. Like, first of all, they're human reference dependent, so you need the ground truth to compute the metric. But they also have a lot of bias toward lexical similarity. And it has been shown that the correlation with respect to human decreases significantly when only a single reference is given, which in other words means that it doesn't correlate well with a human judgment if you have only one summary. Why? The reason is simple. There's many possible ways to generate a summary, and all of them will be correct. And if you compute the overlap of what you generate and only one example from human, it's quite limited. And so this reinforcing on this matrix improves the metric itself, but actually it's tend to generate some poor quality text. It has been shown for translation with Bleu and for summarization with Rouge. And so finally, maybe I believe that language GANs could be an alternative. Because if you think about it in a text, since texts are a sequence, so discrete values, you cannot apply straightforward GANs from images. But what you do is via reinforcement, where the reward is a discriminator. And that could work because, as opposed to conversely to the matrix you try to optimize in reinforcement before via for Rouge or Bleu, these metrics are known to be poor, but a discriminator, in theory, if it's perfect, you're kind of trying to optimize for the best possible reward. And so I think that GAN would be a decent way to mitigate all the teacher forcing issues. But so far, there's a nice paper at iClear last year. GAN are falling short. They are not working, also because language is discrete and it's kind of difficult to optimize via reinforcement learning. So that was for previous work. And before moving to DAS, I want to also highlight that in practice, actually, there's a lot of handwritten rules that people put in the Beam search to improve the text that are generated. For instance, you can have a length penalty that will force the text to be shorter, which is a good behavior for a summary. N-gram repetition avoidance that will force the model to not generate too much n-gram. It will avoid to repeat itself because we know that neural models tend to repeat too often some tokens. You can put a max length limit to not generate more than defined harder coded number of tokens. Some coverage mechanism for the not to being more abstractive, and over lexical constraints. And in practice, most of the papers that report the scores use these handwritten rules in the Beam search. So let's get back to UniLM for ancien and DailyMail results. Here I report, that's a table from my paper, where we report, so on the right, Rouge 1, Rougel, and Bleu 1. But I report also other metrics that I think are interesting to look into to know more about if a model captured or not the distribution of the data, of the training data. And here we report so length for length, which is the length of the summary, novelty 1 and 2, which is in n-gram 1 and 3, novelty 1 and 3, sorry, not 2. The novelty, which is basically how abstractive a summary is. It's because it was appointed by Abigail C, the first line of the table, that because of the copy mechanism, the neural models that were supposed to be abstractive started to copy too much full sentences, entire sentences of the input article, and it was only an extractive summary there. And so it's important to measure if, at such like human, you have a model that is abstractive, which means, in other words, it generates new words that were not present in the input article. And finally, the repetition, 1 and 3 grams, which is if in the summary, in the text that will generate or written by human, you have tokens that tend to repeat. And I can tell you that in a human summary, you have almost 0% of free grams that repeats, which means free grams meaning 3 tokens, 3 consecutive tokens that you will have twice in the same text. And here I computed the metric in terms of delta with respect to human, which means how different, for instance, from the length with respect to human are you in average for the model. The closest to 0, the better, because 0 means in average you don't have any difference, statistical difference with respect to human. And so this is a performance for UniLM, where you can see actually that the delta with repetition 3 grams is almost close to 0, which is normal because there's a rule handwritten in the beam search. Now let's have a look with UniLM with the beam search without the rules. And you can see that, for instance, the repetition of 3 grams now is worst, and the length as well as the delta of length with respect to human is 10% worse about. So how could we mitigate this and without putting some handwritten rules in the beam search? Because what we want from a machine learning perspective is to have models that could learn this distribution. So we propose for that discriminative adversarial search. First, let's have a look at what is a discriminator. A discriminator is a classifier that learns, it's a binary classifier that learns to predict if a text is either human or machine. You have 2 categories, human and machine. And you train the discriminator on 2 different texts. Half of them are the one written by human, the true sentences, while half of them are the generated one by a generator. So here the generator again is UniLM. You generate on all the article on the input, the text, and you train a discriminator on that and the reference ground truth. And when you have this discriminator, so in GAN you tried this is a reward and that would be good, but it doesn't work for GANs. GAN are falling short, but wait for a second. Actually, what is quite interesting is that discriminators by themselves give a really impressive high accuracy to distinguish if a text is human or machine. Here we display the accuracy of 2 discriminators trained on CNN Daily Mail and written by human versus generated by UniLM. On Ordinate, you have the accuracy, which means basically 100% means in 100% of the time, you predict correctly that it was human or machine. And in Abscissa, you have the step, the number of tokens you give as for the discriminator as input, which means, in other words, that for t equal 1, the discriminator only has access to the first token of the summary. T equal 100, the discriminator has access to the 101st token of the summary. And obviously, the more token you are giving to the discriminator, the higher the accuracy, which is why the curve is increasing over time. We report here 2 scores. In blue, the discriminator given the summary and the context. The context here is the article, the input, and obviously it's higher than the orange, as expected, the orange curve without the context, because you can expect that if you give the context in addition of the summary, the discriminator has more information to predict either if it's human or machine. If a summary is, for instance, if a summary is related to the article and contains important information, that's something you take into account. Otherwise, you might consider, for instance, it's machine and not human. That could be a feature that the discriminator leverage on, which is why the blue curve is higher than the orange one. But nevertheless, what is interesting is that after 100 tokens, even before, both models achieve more than 95% accuracy. It means that, in other words, more than 95% of the time, a discriminator, either with or without the context, is able to predict correctly if a summary is human or generated by UNILM. And even actually with one token, the first point of the curve, it's with the context, it's able to get this score with an accuracy higher than 70%. That's high. That's really good. And so the question is, even if GAN are falling short so far, how could we leverage on this discriminator performance to achieve better text generator? For that, we propose DAS for discriminative adversarial search, where the idea is to plug in the Beam search, simply plug in a discriminator to refine at each step the probability of the generated text, to not taking account only the generator probability, that could be wrong, but also the discriminator probability that will help to refine at each step of the generation. So here, for instance, you have a generator which is UniLM, and again, we didn't touch the generator during all our experiments, and a discriminator that was trained, as explained previously, on the UniLM output and human output. And thanks to that, we can improve the Beam search. So far, a simple Beam search with only the generator probability would maybe is prone to repetition, and I go to 2, it will put for this token 2, which obviously is a wrong repetition that you don't desire, a high probability of 45%. This is a fake example that I made for the presentation. But wait, here, if the discriminator is so good that we saw before, it should be able to get that 2 is a repetition that you don't want as an output, and it can refine the probability during inference, and given the probability of the generator and the discriminator, you can lower the one from for 2, the repetition, and increase the probability for the desired word, ICML. And so basically, thanks to the discriminator that will reorder at each step during decoding the probabilities better than a simple generator, you can simply improve the text generation. So this is the main idea of the paper, plugging a discriminator, leveraging on its high performance during Beam search. So, okay, we have a discriminator that was trained on the generated text and human one, and now you had, thanks to DAS, better generated sentences, right? Because first you train it on only the output of UniLM, the generator alone, and now thanks to the discriminator that you now trained, you have a better text generator thanks to DAS, which takes into account not only the generator probabilities, but also the now discriminator probabilities. And so now the generated sentences should be better, right? And so you can use, again, the same training data to generate new text, which should be better than the previous one you trained the discriminator on. And this actually allows to introduce DAS retrain as opposed to DAS single, where you use DAS to generate better sentences on the training data. Now that the generated sentences are better, you can use them again to fine-tune the discriminator, and so on again and again in a self-training scheme. And so you can have a loop that will at some time maybe converge We don't have any proof about that, theoretical proof, but from the experiment, it's finished to converge, where you can still improve it thanks to better generated text. So now let's have a look to the results on CNN Daily Mail again, where you had UniLM with no rules for the different metrics. And now I introduce the result for DAS single and DAS retrain. And that's interesting to see that actually both are improving the results for UniLM. You can note the exception of repetition free, since obviously UniLM had a handwritten rule in the beam search. But still, if you remove this rule, it's worse, and DAS single allows to mitigate this issue, and DAS retrain is even better. So it means, in other words, that DAS single and even better DAS retrain fits the training distribution better than using only UniLM as a generator. So it seems to mitigate the training and the learn distribution mismatch. Do we mitigate actually the exposure bias? Here we display in abscissa the length of the summary and where the repetition occur, and in ordinate the 3 gram repetitions. So you can see that the longer, basically the 3 gram repetitions tend to occur in a longer summary, which might be due to the exposure bias. The longer it is, the more it's exposed to its own mistakes. You can see that human, obviously it's not the case. The curve is flat and close to 0. For UniLM, no rules, again, without the avoidance repetition rule in the beam search. It increases over time and quite more and more. And interestingly, with the DAS single, it tends to be better. It's at the beginning, it's similar, and the longer the delta between DAS single and DAS and UniLM with no rules is increasing, which might indicate we are mitigating this bias, this exposure bias. And interestingly, with DAS retrain, it's a bit better. One other interesting property for discriminators is that it requires actually quite few data to be trained on. What we display here again is a classification accuracy of a discriminator given the number of tokens you give as input to the discriminator from 1 to here 60. And we display 3 curves. In blue, given a training size of 100,000 examples of summaries to the discriminator. In orange, only 10,000, and even not only in green, only 1,000 examples. 1,000 is 100 times lower than the blue curve. And that's interesting how actually you can achieve quite a good accuracy given few data only. That's very interesting, because it might then, what we want with that is to apply DAS in another scenario on domain adaptation, where you consider the generator as a black box trained on CNN Daily Mail, and what we want is to apply it to another data set from another domain. I will present you the result on TLDR, a Reddit summarization dataset. So the domain is completely different. Obviously, the generator that is frozen will not perform that good, but with only few data from the new domain, you can train a discriminator and apply DAS to improve the performance. And so here, this is what we report on TLDR, again, a Reddit dataset, where interestingly, you can see that DAS single and DAS retrain allows to improve quite well the performances. One interesting thing, I think, is also that the difference between of performance between DAS retrain and DAS single is here more important than on CNN Daily Mail in the in-domain scheme. I hypothesize that it might be due to the fact it's another domain. And so if you think about it, we didn't retrain UniLM, the generator. And so the mismatch between the generator and what in the human TLDR summary are bigger. And so that single will maybe, the discriminator will give a higher performance because it will be easier. And so it will maybe re-rank, refine the probabilities during the beam search decoding, even with in a much more important way than in the in-domain scenario. And so maybe it will create a mismatch between the UniLM probabilities that we'll see in at inference probability proposed by a DAS single that will re-rank, put at top position a token that was unexpected for UniLM. And so doing the DAS retrain allows to mitigate this mismatch, which I believe is also why here it works better. So as future work, what we plan to do first is to apply the method to other sequential tasks than summarization, such as machine translation, time series, video generation, for instance. One thing I will try also is to extend the approach with other reference-less metrics. Reference-less in the sense that at inference time, you can use this a classifier, a discriminator. You don't need to have the human ground truth at inference time because the model is already trained. And it could be used to give more control in a more general way than a discriminator for text generation, plugging to the beam search some classifier to mitigate race bias, gender bias, or domain adaptation, for instance. And finally, we will try to make language GANs work because I think it's a promising path. And I'm not supposed to say, but it's already on arXiv. We did a work that, which is called Cold GANs, timing language GANs with cautious sampling strategies, which is, I think, one of the first successful GANs in text generation where we propose a new way with important sampling for training language GANs that improve the teacher forcing strategies. So thank you very much for your attention.